right, so Unit 13 grammar is awkward constructions and unclear sentences. Now, there are 3 ways that you can avoid this. The first way to fix an awkward construction or an unclear sentence is simplifying the sentence to active voice. And we've worked on that a little bit. So that's one way to make things a little bit clearer. The next way to make things clear is placing any descriptive words, phrases, or clauses next to the thing that they are modifying. And then the last one is kind of going along on that same concept is making sure that your descriptive words, phrases, or clauses have something to modify. So making sure they have something to modify and then they're by whatever that is that they're modifying. Okay, so this will become a little bit clearer as we go throughout the unit. So let's look at the first one. The first one is simplifying the sentence using active voice. This is the one that we've worked the most on. So active voice is you want an action verb, something actually happening, and not being, passive. So let's look at one way to write it. My brother has his cell phone, which he is totally absorbed in playing with, raising his head only when somebody specifically calls his name. First of all, that's wordy anyway. So how could we make that less wordy? We can make it less wordy by making active. My brother loses himself in his cell phone. So remember, kind of getting rid of those has and is. Okay. My brother loses himself in his cell phone, raising his head only when someone calls his name. Next way to kind of clear up awkward and confusing sentences is to make sure that you have, pull this up right here, to make sure that you put your descriptive words, phrases, and clauses next to what they're modifying. Otherwise, you get what's called a misplaced modifier. Okay, so you want your words next to whatever they're modifying. So let's take a look at one that's misplaced. Joe packed all of his unwanted clothes and housewares into his truck, which he was donating to Goodwill. Okay, so right here we have donating near truck, so it makes it sound like he's going to donate his truck to Goodwill. And yeah, no. Let's try that again. Joe packed all of his unwanted clothes and housewares, that should actually be one word, which he was donating to Goodwill, into his truck. Okay, so we actually have our modifier here as in a positive, which works just fine. Next one, a next misplaced modifier. Having run out of gas, comma, John was late for dinner. Okay, we can fix that by saying because his car ran out of gas, comma, John was late for dinner. Okay, we're going to go and skip down and look at the next one. Okay, so that's when you have a misplaced, that's called a misplaced modifier. Misplaced means you want to put it next to it. A dangling modifier, and you might have heard this before, like the term somebody saying a dangling modifier. A dangling modifier is when you have something, you don't have anything that you're like, that it's modifying. So it's just there, not modifying anything. So let's take a look at some of these. Naive and idealistic, comma, teaching would be easy for me. So naive and idealistic is considered your dangling modifier. So we're talking about a person being naive and idealistic, but that's not really like connected to the sentence because it just starts talking about teaching. So the way that you can fix this is by adding something that it's modifying. So naive and idealistic is modifying the person. So adding the I adds the modifier. Naive and idealistic, comma, I thought teaching would be easy. Okay, that looks much better. Let's look at another example. To increase strength, comma, weights should be lifted. Okay, it doesn't say anything about like who needs to lift the weights. So to fix this, to increase their strength, athletes should lift weights. Okay, so you need something to be modifying. Okay, again, as with any new concept, this will take a little while. And then once we start doing some practices, I think it'll become clear. Okay, so I have 3 different examples down here kind of going along with the concepts that we've talked about. So the first one says, my brother, pointing to the television when I ask him a question, is a guy who watches hours of sports, hating to be interrupted. Oh my God, where do we even start? Okay, well, maybe just start with, my brother is a guy actually I could probably just get rid of that, right? Is a guy who hates, who watches watches hours of sports, hating to be interrupted, and pointing to the TV when I ask him questions. It's a long one. Okay, so really just kind of cleaning up some of this, right? Okay, let's look at the next one. Angry and excited, my heart began to race inside of me. Okay, so angry and excited is modifying. Who is that modifying? Angry and excited, I could feel my heart race. I could feel my heart race inside of me. I'm gonna end it there because I'm kind of out of room. Okay, so you're really just making that a little bit more active. I could feel it. Okay, last one. Ethan served ice cream to his friends in styrofoam bowls. Okay, this one I feel like is a little bit more identifiable because using styrofoam bowls goes along with the ice cream. So you need to have that together. So this one was a dangling modifier. I'm sorry, not a dangling modifier. This one was the misplaced dangling modifier, and this one's the misplaced. So this is a dangling, and this is a misplaced. So Ethan served ice cream in styrofoam bowls to his friends. I feel like this one's the most obvious, right? So that was like misplaced, so we had to fix that. And that one was dangling because I didn't have one, okay? And then for that one, we were just trying to make it a little bit clearer, although that was kind of a long one, right? So, all right, well, there you go. That's how you can clear up your sentences a bit.